So I was invited by Cheryl to speak to you guys this evening during Mishmar about my good friend Ari Fuld. First of all, Cheryl is mishpacha. We are related. She's married to my cousin Adam. I imagine you met Adam and my beautiful, I'll call them nephews.
I know.
Whatever they are, mishpacha. So you asked me where I'm from, so I guess I'll start telling you what tonight's going to be about. Then go into where I'm from and how I know Ari, and then going more into the different stories of Breshit, which I'll share with you to really get into more of understanding who Ari was, what he stood for, and what you can learn from as well from who he was, and to keep his memory and legacy alive. So first of all, this week's parasha is Parshat Chayei Sarah. Anyone here going to Hebron for Shabbat? No, you don't have to. I'm not going to Hebron even though I wanted to.
We're going on Monday.
You're going on Monday. So we have a bar mitzvah on next Shabbat, Parshat Toldot. So my wife was not really keen on going away and packing up the Shabbat before the bar mitzvah. So we're staying put in home. All right. Parshat Chayei Sarah is basically a love story. All right? The story, and this I heard from my friend this week, Yishai Fleischer. We did what we're calling every week, we do a Judean roundtable. We are Jews, we're from Judea, you can call us Judeans, right? We are back in our homeland, we're living here, this is our natural habitat. We are the indigenous people, we are Judeans. So every week we know a couple of us who are advocates and activists for Israel, for the Jewish people, we get together, and this week we did it right in front of Ma'arat HaMachpelah in Hebron. And Yishai said something beautiful. He said the story of Ma'arat HaMachpelah, the story that we're going to be reading in Parshat Chayei Sarah, is a love story. What's Ma'arat HaMachpelah? It's because of a love between a man and a woman that he ends up paying a lot of money that he did not have to pay. He was going to be given it for free. And here I'm talking about Avram and Ephron Achiti said, I'm going to give this to you for free. Avram said, no. I'm going to pay you a lot of money even though you don't want the money. And it's only because of the love that he had for him. So the story about Ma'arat HaMachpelah, the story of the importance of Hebron to us, to the Jewish people, is based on a love story. And that's only one love story that we see in Parshat Chayei Sarah. What's the second love story we have in Parshat Chayei Sarah? Right, Yitzchak and Rivka. Well, and that's a different love story. That's love at first sight. I mean, it's very funny. Like here we're Jews learning from the Torah a story of love at first sight. We're supposed to learn, like, you're not necessarily fall in love at first sight. But here, we also have a love story. Yitzchak and Rivka, they're put together. It's a match, and it's a match made between. It's made by Abraham's guidance of understanding who the right person is for his son. And he tells Eliezer, you're looking for these qualities. I want a girl that's kind. I want a girl that's going to go out of her way and help. That's the kind of girl I want. And not only that, you have to make sure you're going to find him a girl that's going to make Aliyah, because I'm not letting him leave Israel. All right? There we have the first matchmaking story of Tanakh. And it's based on the right values, which includes a giving personality, and the understanding that my son's staying in the land of Israel. I'm not letting him leave. So you make sure you find that girl that's going to be coming to him and coming here to live with us. All right? So then we have two love stories that make up Parshat Chayei Sarah that we're going to be reading this Shabbat. What's the connection to Ari? Well, the whole story I'm going to be telling you about Ari is also a love story. Not a love between a man and a woman, even though, yes, he has a wife who he loved dearly and 4 children and a beautiful family. But it's a love story between him and his values. Ari loved being a Jew. It's that simple. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Ari loved being a Jew. He lived it. I mean, the term is someone, what is it? You live, I forgot the term. In any case, he lived it. You just saw it, how he acted every day, how he lived, how he spoke. He loved being a Jew. And that passion of his was a three-pronged passion. And it's going to sound so simple to you, but then I really want you to think, how many people do you know, including yourself and family and friends, who are really, really passionate about these three things? Like really passionate. Not just, okay, yeah, but really passionate. What are the three things Ari was passionate about that made him love to be a Jew? One, he was passionate about Am Yisrael. He was passionate about the Jewish people. He loved every Jew. And he fought for every Jew. And he fought for every Jew to know the truth about what it is to be a Jew. And the truth about Israel. That's one thing. What's the second thing he was passionate about? Eretz Yisrael. He wanted to make sure everyone knew this is the place to be. The land of Israel is our homeland. Whether you're living here now or not yet, this is our homeland. This is where we came from. This is where we're supposed to feel a connection to, even if we're not here yet. And he gave over that love for the land of Israel, and he gave over the truth about the land of Israel, because unfortunately there's a lot of lies and misinformation spread every single day that even many of our own family or friends tend to believe, and they're less supportive of Israel than they should be. So Ari was very, very passionate about the land of Israel. And what's the third thing he was passionate about? And I'm sure you guys can figure it out. Am Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael. What's the third thing he was passionate about? Torah Yisrael. Ari loved Torah. He was making siyums left and right. He was always learning. And it was because of his deep passion for Am Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, Torah Yisrael, that he loved being a Jew. So just as Parshat Chayei Sarah is a love story, and Ma'at Machpelah is in a sense a love story, even though it's a burial, it's a love story. He put out lots of money because he loved his wife. And she was so special to him. So too, what I'm going to be talking to you tonight about Ari is that love story. It's that love that he had for being a Jew. And if I want anything to come out of this night, you don't have to remember anything else, but at least take away to what you can do to better appreciate how blessed you are with being a Jew, and how your day-to-day life can be more enriched and more meaningful for yourself and for those around you by you really, truly embracing your Jewish identity and not just going through the motions, not just learning a Blat Gemara, not just learning halacha, not just eating kosher and knowing how to do the mitzvah, knowing how to say the brachot, but really feel that pride in who you are and your Jewish identity. All right? It's the only thing I'm asking for you to take out of this night. You can forget everything else. So here we're going to go. This week's Parsha is Parshat Chayei Sarah. I'm going to take you through a little journey of, starting from Parshat Lech Lecha, how we can learn from Avraham and some of the other Avot more about who Ari really was as well in his life, and what we could take from him, even though he's not here with us today, because he was murdered. So let's start with Lech Lecha. Beginning of the parsha. Vayomer Hashem el Avram lech lecha mi'artzecha u'mimoladcha mi'beit avicha el haaretz asher arecha. So we're going to learn two things about Avraham tonight from Parshat Lech Lecha. Number one, we're all focusing on learning on how to learn Tanakh, how to learn Chumash. Well, we all know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not use multiple words in vain. If there are multiple words, there must be a reason. There's no reason for God to have to duplicate stuff. And what are we hearing here? Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladetcha u'mibeit avicha el haaretz asher arecha. Did we have to use those three words? Wouldn't it not have been enough for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to say Lech lecha me'artzecha? Oh, Lech lecha mimoladetcha. Oh, Lech lecha me'beit avicha. Why do we need all three? Why? There's no reason. Son, go over there. Leave where you are now and go over there. That's enough. We don't need anything else. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us three words. So then the question that Mefarshim ask is, why? Why? Right? So first of all, even before we get there, I just love focusing on the Lech Lecha. Okay? If you haven't heard it yet, I'm a big proponent of trying to instill the seeds for fellow Jews to want to come and live in Israel, even if they're not here yet, even if their families are not here yet. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us right here why Aliyah should be done, why Aliyah is important. And it's right in the name of the Parsha, Lech Lecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, go for you. There's only one reason to make Aliyah, not because we make more money here, Not because life is better for your families. Not because the grass is greener. Not because it's a safer place to be. There's only one reason we're supposed to live in Israel. For you. For me, for you, for you, for you. Our lives are more enhanced as a people, as Jews, because we're here in our homeland. For you, that's what we're supposed to be here. That's simple. Lech lecha, go for you. For no other reason, that's why we're supposed to be here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what's best for us, and that's the reason. Then what's the reasoning for all these duplication of words? HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows us. He knows the psyche of man. The psyche of man is change is hard. All right? I'll give you a secret. I used to work in computers, not as a programmer, but I used to work in what's called change management. So when big companies used to change over their computer systems, I used to be involved to help them with that process. I used to talk to the employees, how they work now, how are they going to work in the new system, help the new system be developed, and then write out all the training manuals, make all the videos, talk to all the managers, all the senior staff, and take them through the process of change. Because if today I'm supposed to press the N button in order to do whatever task, if tomorrow I have to do that task pressing the S button, I'm going to mess up and people are going to get frustrated. Even a tiny little change people get frustrated about. And you have to work people through that change so that they are ready and able and more amiable to now working according to the new way of things. Even just the change of a button, which sounds so simple. Change is hard. Leaving your homeland is hard. Leaving where you were born is hard. Leaving your father's house is hard. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us 3 different words? What is one of the reasons the Mepharshim tell us? In order to emphasize how hard this is. When I told you before, Lech Lecha, go for you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu isn't saying go for you and it'll be easy. He's saying go for you and it's going to be very hard. But do it anyway. We're not supposed to live a life of easy. One of, I don't know who here has seen the magnets that have been put out in memory of Ari. One of those magnets is a quote, is a picture of him, and a quote that his daughter said at his funeral. And the quote is this: if life is easy, you're living it wrong. That's simple. Life has challenges. Life has hardships. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Avram right here, I'm about to give you a challenge. And even though you want to listen to me, it's hard. Right? And I know it's going to be hard, and you're going to do it anyway. And life is about overcoming challenges. Life is about taking the challenges head on and dealing with it, not running away from it. Life is about understanding that things are hard and still doing them anyway and trying your best, whether you succeed or not. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. But don't run away from it. Understand that is what life is about. And that's how Ari lived as well. So that's the first thing about Lech Lecha that we're going to be learning about Ari. Now I'll take a step back before I go to the second thing. How do I know Ari? I grew up in New York City, Upper West Side of Manhattan, if anyone is familiar. I actually went to a school called SAR in Riverdale. This is back in the 1980s. Ari's father, Rabbi Ari Fuld, was our principal, and Ari was a classmate of mine. So we were classmates. We went to school together. The other thing that connected us is just as his father was a principal, my father was a principal of Jewish high schools. He was a principal of a high school in Riverdale. It was actually Rabbi Riskin's or Torah high school in Riverdale before he made Aliyah. So my father worked for Rabbi Riskin. That was 30 years ago. And then he worked in Ramaz, and then he worked as a principal in Baltimore. And we lived in Baltimore for a few years. Basically, the next time I saw Ari was back when my family made Aliyah when I was around your age. I was 16 years old. My family made Aliyah in the middle of high school. And Ari came for his year in Israel, like you, and made Aliyah a year later. He basically stayed, and his family then came. His whole family came. And at the time, there were programs in the OU Israel Center. Do they have programs in the OU Israel Center anymore? Mitzvot, stuff like that? Not anymore?
For like older.
For older. All right. So when back in our day, back in 1990 and 91, I'm dating myself here. None of you were born yet, right? There were programs for 1-year students out of the OU Israel Center. And Ari's girlfriend at the time, who turned out to be his wife, Miriam, worked as Shirut Leumi in the Israel Center. So I used to do programs out of the Israel Center also for 1-year students and for teenagers who their families made Aliyah and they didn't fit in with Bnei Akiva, they didn't fit in with Ezra, and so my brother and my sister started a whole new youth movement, basically NCSY in Israel, at the time was called Nesto, New English-Speaking Teen Olim. So they started it with their friends, because there weren't as many English speakers back then as there are today. Baruch Hashem, it's beautiful, the amount of English speakers and Americans that have made Aliyah since then. Back then it was not in to make Aliyah, it wasn't talked about. So still not enough, but we're in a much better place than we were 30 years ago, for sure. So I used to be in the Israel Center, and I used to see Ari whenever he was coming to see Miriam, who he was dating at the time, and then Ari was already in the army. Right? Then Ari finished the army, I finished the army, and the next stage is, everyone familiar here with Holy Bagel in the Old City? Okay? So once upon a time, there was a bagel company, the first ever bagel company in Israel, and it was called Bonkers Bagels. And the first branch opened up in the center of town, and the second branch opened up in the old city of Jerusalem where Holy Bagel is today. And Ari was the manager who opened up the store, and he hired me to help him open up the store. So we basically opened up the first ever bagel store in the old city of Jerusalem, and we worked together for whatever, half a year. And then I met my wife, and then we got married, and we lived in New York for a few years. Ari was here, and stayed here and managing that, and then going on and learning. And then the next time was a few years later. Rachel, my wife Rachel, and I made Aliyah 2 times. And we moved to Efrat. This is back in 2001, closer to when you guys were born. Sorry, I still get a kick out of it. It's still funny. And Ari and his wife Miriam moved into the neighborhood and moved next door to us. And then since then, for the past 15 years, we basically were sitting next to each other, davening in shul, and schmoozing and talking. And we have children the same age, and they're very good friends. So Ari and I go way back, all the way back to 4th grade until today. And the other thing that really bonded us together is Ari was very, very active online in advocating for Israel. He used to do videos, he used to do on television programs, he used to do his own things, taking people around. And I run a company where we do advocacy for Israel, we promote videos for Israel. One of our websites is Israel Video Network, our Facebook page is Israel Video Network, and we have millions of people all over the world who are watching our videos, and it's all about helping people connect with Israel and learn the truth about Israel and strengthen their Jewish identity if they're Jews. So Ari and I used to talk all the time about all the stuff we were doing for Israel. So that's my connection back then until today. So let's go back into Lech Lecha. So I told you the first thing about Lech Lecha. It's about the challenges in life and taking those challenges and understanding that there are challenges to overcome. What's number 2? What's the second thing we can learn from him that we're going to go into about Ari? We continue. Alright, so basically HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving him a promise. I'm going to make you a great nation. Again, it's the bracha. I'm going to bless you. Anyone who blesses you will be blessed. Basically, alright, but here's the real thing. Now we get to the kicker. Vayelech Avram kasher diber elav Hashem vayelech ito Lot. Who goes with him? Lot. Ve'Avram ben 5 shanim v'shivim shana b'tzedo mecharan. Tells us the age when he left Haran. Vayikach Avram et Sarai ishto v'et Lot ben achiv v'et kol rechusham asher achashu. Who comes with him? He takes himself, he takes his wife, he takes his family, he takes Lot, whose family, all their stuff. Ve'et hanefesh asher asu b'charan. What's going on here? Avram was just told to leave his homeland, go to a new place. And not only did he not go alone, he brought all these people with him. What's happening here? Who is this man Avram? Why are people coming with him? He just went through the hardest challenge in life, leaving where you come from. And people came and tagged along with him? Who is this guy? So the first thing you understand is just as Avraham was passionate about this belief in God, the first person in the universe who believed in monotheism, the first one to understand there must be this power in the world called God, and I'm going to follow him. And he was able to convince other people to also be passionate about that and also believe in that. He didn't just care about himself. He understood, I found the truth, and I'm gonna share that truth with other people. I'm not gonna be selfish and keep it to myself. And that's also how Ari was. Ari was a person who his love for his Jewish identity and his love for Judaism and his love for Israel wasn't enough for just to let it keep it inside of him. 24/7, he was working to inspire other people about their Jewish identity, to teach other people about the truth about Israel and about our homeland and why we should be connected to it, why should we be proud of it, why we should support it, why we should live here. He was passionate about teaching Torah to everybody. And that's who Avraham was. All of a sudden, when we read through this, and it's, oh yeah, people came with him. And you're supposed to stop. And it's like, what? People came with him? He just did the nuttiest thing. The first man on the universe the first Jew to make Aliyah. And not only did he not go alone, but strangers, not even family members, joined him. Oh my God, you know how happy my parents would have been if when we made Aliyah 28 years ago, other people in the neighborhood would have made Aliyah too. We wouldn't have been alone. It's like it changes everything. You're surrounded by a network, a support system. It helps. And Avram had the passion to be able to accomplish that. And that's also the personality that Ari was. All right, so that's Lech Lecha. Let's go on to Vayera. Okay. Now again, I am a big chassid of, I don't know who here learned Mesilat Yesharim. All right? To me, the most important thing about Mesilat Yesharim is not the Sefer, it's the Hakdama. What did Reb Chaim Luzzat to tell us in the Hakdama of Mesilat Yesharim? He basically teaches us, you don't have to answer, it's okay. I don't like that.
I read it last week, so it's a problem that I
remember. Got it. Basically, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but basically he says everything I'm going to tell you here in this book, you already know. And it's the basic things that you basically already know that you have to go over and learn and internalize. So I'm a big chassid of that. I love reading the parsha. I love going through Tanakh. And not necessarily looking for the big chiddush or reading what this Perush has to say, but just looking at the pshat and going over it and saying, oh my God, there was something bigger here that I missed. And I'll tell you something that we miss every single time. Vayera elav Hashem be'elonei mamrei v'hu yoshev petach oel kachol hayom. And this excites me, and this excited Ari, and I have no clue who this is going to excite here, but be my guest and join me. Kadosh Baruch Hu appears to Avraham in Elonei Mamrei, and he's sitting there at the entrance of his tent when it's hot out. Now, everyone always focuses on the fact of why is he sitting out there in his tent, outside the tent? It's hot out. He just had his bris. He's an old man. The Malachim are coming to visit him, to do Bikur Cholim. And Avram sitting outside his tent. What a tzaddik Avram is. He's sitting outside his tent. He's waiting to do the mitzvah of Achnasat Orchim. That's the focus of most Divrei Torah when we for the first pasuk of Vayera. I'm going to give you a different one. This is the first time we're learning about a location in Israel where Avraham settled. Elonei Mamrei. Avraham is the father of the Jewish people. Now, a message Ari gave across and a message I give across is to better internalize that simple fact. And I'll take a step backwards, and then I'll connect it to Elonim Amrei. Today's advocacy for Israel, if you go to the college campuses next year, Bezrat Hashem, right? You're going to be hearing people saying, Israel is amazing, it's a startup nation. Israel is amazing because of technology. Israel is amazing because we created cherry tomatoes. Israel is amazing because we have IDF, who we send medical rescue teams around the world at every single natural disaster, even to enemy countries, to Turkey, to Lebanon. We even offered assistance to Iran, right? Amazing things about Israel. Be proud about Israel because of all this. And that's true, we should be proud about Israel with all that. But I want to give you a little twist on Israel as the startup nation. What's the startup nation? It's how we're unbelievable at technology companies, right? And we should be proud of that. We're a small, tiny country, and every single major technology company in the world has an office here in tiny little Israel. They don't have in London. They don't necessarily have in Beijing. They don't have in Paris. But they have in Israel, in Tel Aviv. Why? Because we got the biggest brains and the most flexibility and unbelievable. We're unbelievable. We're the startup nation, and so many people are so proud about that. But guess what? If I really wanted to be proud of high tech, I could just go to Silicon Valley. I can go to New York City. I can go to London. I can go to Paris. I can go to Beijing. Each and every one of these places, you can go and be excited about technology. Does that help you in your ability to better connect with your homeland and your own Jewish identity? All right, so Israel's a startup nation. We should be proud that it's unbelievable in technology. But I'll tell you the true startup nation. Avraham Avinu sitting in Elonim Amrei. That's the startup nation. Avraham started our nation here in this country. And he sat there in front of a tent in Elonim Amrei. When's the last time you guys went to Elonim Amrei? When's the last time you went there and opened up a Tanakh and said, oh my God, Avraham sat here? That's your pride in being a Jew. You could be proud about technology anywhere in the world. There's only one place in the world where Avraham sat in front of a tent in Elonim Amrei. And that's in Elonim Amrei, in your homeland. And it's not just Elonim Amrei. When's the last time you went to Hebron and opened up a Tanakh and looked at every single time Hebron was mentioned there to connect with the stories and internalize, oh my God, every year I just sit in shul listening to this. Sometimes I fall asleep. Sometimes I may be reading Mefarshim. Other times I'm not listening at all because I'm just talking to my friend next to me. But never internalized the importance of Hebron to who you are as a person and who you are as a Jew. And here you are this year, and you went this week or next week?
We're going next.
Okay? So I don't know what the program is, but when you go to Hebron next week, I challenge you, open up a Tanakh, bring one with you. Go ahead of time. Go through the Concordancia. Go through all the different places Hebron is listed in the Tanakh. And it's actually not that many. But do that. And then go, and then open it up, and look in each and every place. And then stand there and read those psukim and internalize and realize, oh my God, for 18 years I've read this and never realized that this is a part of who I am. And I'm now standing at this place. That is the startup nation. Our nation was started up here. Avraham is the father of our startup nation. And that's the message that Ari gave to each and every family or person that he brought to Hebron. To internalize your personal connection with the place. It's not just another place. It is the place. Before Yerushalayim, what was the capital of the Jewish people? Hebron. Right? King David, when he established his kingdom, Hebron was the capital. We didn't have Yerushalayim yet. So when Yerushalayim then turned into be our holiest city, Hebron is our second holiest city. It was the capital, our capital, and our patriarchs and matriarchs are buried there. And that is your Jewish identity. And that is what was so important for Ari to give over. And I'll tell you the other thing Ari used to give over when he used to take people to Hebron. And this is something else. You guys are all going to college campuses next year. Or, well, maybe you're all staying Shana Bet. I don't know. Or maybe you're making Aliyah. There you go. There you go. Adina stay.
She's already Shana Bet.
So. Oh, you're already Shana Bet? Geweldig. So, you're going to go to college campus, and you're going to hear the occupation. You're going to hear Hebron. How can we have only 300 Jews living in Hebron when there are tens of thousands of Arabs and we're occupiers? And life, when we make life so horrible for the Arabs. That's what you're going to hear. And let me tell you this. I've seen a lot of yeshiva and seminary kids who've come here for the year, sat, learned a lot of Gemara, learned a lot of halacha, wore long tzitzit, sat in Mishmar till 3 o'clock in the morning. And they go to American college campuses, and within 3-4 years on college campus, they're not so proud about being Jews anymore. They're not so proud about Israel anymore. And some of them end up actually taking off their kippah or not being religious, and also being anti-Israel. And this is after a year or two of sitting here in these same halls and same rooms as you are. It's just a fact. College campus is not easy to be a Jew nowadays. The amount of anti-Israel activity, that everyone has a safe space except for a Jew, the whole thing, what's going on today. It's not so easy. So when people come to you and you're going to be hearing about Hebron and the occupation, I want you to remember one thing. I want you to remember the picture of Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Because if you look at Ma'arat HaMachpelah, it's very similar to the western wall of Har HaBayit. Why is it similar? Because the same person built both. Who built them? Herod. Close. Okay, King Herod, who was the Jewish Roman King Herod. He built Har HaBayit, the western wall that we know today of Har HaBayit, and he built Ma'arat HaMachpelah. That's why they look similar. Now, what's on top of Har HaBayit and on top of Ma'arat HaMachpelah? Dome of the Rock, which actually is not a mosque, but Al-Aqsa Mosque is the black dome on top. And what's on top of Ma'arat HaMachpelah? A mosque, a minaret. Okay? Now, you're on college campus, who do they call the occupiers? They call us the occupiers, right? Our building is on the bottom. Their building is on the top. Who came first and who's the occupier? Right? Right? In order to build on top, you have to come later. Right? I mean, you're taking over. You're taking over someone else who built first. So if anyone comes to you on college campus, and even fellow Jews, you just tell them, guys, look at the picture. Look at this picture. This is our building on top. They built on. This is our building on the bottom. They built on top. They came later. Herod built. When did Herod build Har HaBayit? When did he build Ma'arat HaMachpelah? 2,000 years ago, around the turn of the century, right? Islam wasn't invented, didn't come to the world until 700 years later around. And only around that time did they come and conquer and occupy this land. So don't let anyone tell you that Hebron doesn't belong to you or that a Jew can't live there. Don't let them say that. If a Jew has no right to live in our ancient city of Hebron or Elon Moreh or Efrat, a Jew is not, we don't have a right to live in Tel Aviv. Where is Tel Aviv in Tanakh?
No.
Why is Tel Aviv not in Tanakh?
Yafo's in Tanakh.
Where's Tel Aviv in Tanakh?
Yafo's in Tanakh.
Yafo's in Tanakh. Where's Tel Aviv in Tanakh? Yafa. Where's Tel Aviv in Tanakh? It's not. It's the first modern. You're right. It's the first modern city of the Jewish people's return to our homeland. But it's not in Tanakh. But yet the world wants to recognize Tel Aviv as our capital, and they don't want to recognize Jerusalem as our capital. And America is the first country to officially recognize, the first major country to officially recognize Jerusalem, which is our capital for thousands of years, as our official capital. These are all messages that Ari worked so hard to give across to people. Because he was passionate about the truth, and he was passionate about each and every Jew. Because I'm afraid, like Ari was afraid, of each and every kid that ends up going to college campus and doesn't have enough information and doesn't have enough pride in their Jewish identity to remain proud Jews through 3 or 4 years or even more on whatever college campus they go to. So the more you learn, not just Gemara, not just Halacha, the more you learn about Jewish history and really learn it, not just go over the psukim, but really learn it, really connect with it. Who are the people? What did they do? What are the places? Where are they today? You're here for a year. Take advantage of Shabbatot and go to these places. You can say, I spent Shabbat there. You have the opportunity. And when you're there, you open up the Tanakh and you see it and you read it and you feel it with your feet. You're that much more connected to your identity and to this book when you end up going to that college campus next year in 2 years or whatever. So that's Vayera. Then we go to Chayei Sarah. So I already started and told you Chayei Sarah is about the love story. But now we really get to Chayei Sarah. Because this is the major question that everyone asks. And I'm going to give you the major answer that everyone answers, but it's such an important answer. Vayu Chayei Sarah, 100 shana ו20 shana ו7 shanim, shnei Chayei Sarah. What's the contradiction here? Vayu Chayei Sarah. This is the life of Sarah. Are we about to learn about the life of Sarah? No, we're about to learn about the death of Sarah. So what's going on here? How can the parsha start and the parsha be named Chayei Sarah? And this is connected with what I'm working very hard right now in Ari's memory. And that's exactly it, the memory, the legacy. We all know that in Yahadut, we believe in this world and we believe in the next world. And that this world really is what? Is just a corridor, a prosdo, to the next world. Now, it's very nice to say that, but how many of us really understand that? It's such a hard concept to understand. We're here, we're physical beings, we have eyes, we have eyes to see, we have fingers to touch. Life is right in front of us. It's like when someone dies, they're gone. It's like, that's it. It's so hard to imagine what this next world is. We have no clue. We only see and understand. We only understand what we see and what we can feel. But that's exactly what we learned from Chayei Sarah. Vayu Chayei Sarah, even though someone dies, their essence, their neshama, the things that were important to them still live on through us. So the most basic way of a human to understand what the next world is, what does that mean? You physically die, but the person is still with you? Because you keep that person inside of you and keep their memories alive. When a family member dies, especially when a parent or a grandparent of a friend or an acquaintance, the most important thing I try to tell them, it's always hard to know what to say. You never know what to say when someone's in mourning. It's a tragedy, they're sad. The one thing I always try to remember to say is, hold on to the memories. Hold on to those smiles. Hold on to those happy moments. Because that's how that person lives on. You're keeping them alive. I have no clue how many of you, all your parents are alive, all your grandparents are alive. Probably it isn't for all of you. Definitely not for me. But that's the way we keep our relatives alive. No matter what age they are when they passed away, whether it was a ripe old age of 80, 90, 100, or 65, 70, but they lived a full life, or even if their lives were cut short, whether as children or whether as a young 45-year-old father. But it's up to us to keep their memories alive. And their neshama is then all around. So for Chayei Sarah, her even though she dies, it's now up to Avram and the family that he's now about to continue with to keep her alive. Vayu Chayei Sarah. Do not think that because someone is physically no longer with us, that they are no longer with us. There is another aspect to that life, and it's not the life of their physical body, it's the life of their neshama. It's the life of their soul, which exists forever. And it's upon us to keep that soul living forever. And that's why I am here speaking to you about Ari this evening. Because that's my way, the little thing I can do to keep his memory and his legacy alive, so people can continue to be inspired by who he was in his life, to make sure that even though his physical body is no longer with us, his soul and his essence of who he was and what he lived for continues to live on. And now we'll go into Parshat Toldot, even though this week is Parshat Chayei Sarah. I'm gonna end with Toldot because you're Midrash at Lindenbaum, and I have an important message for all of you, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay? I might shock you, and I'm probably going to shock my wife because I never really said this out loud for her to maybe hear if she's watching live what she isn't, because she's cooking for our bar mitzvah for next week. I am a big feminist. Okay? I'm a big feminist. And I'm a big feminist because of Sarah and because of Rachel. And I'll explain to you what feminism is to me and what I learned from these two parshiyot. My son's bar mitzvah is Parshat Toldot. My parsha is Parshat Toldot. And now I'm going to go through a story. We all know about the switch in the brachot between Esav and Yaakov. Who was behind the switch?
Rivka.
Right, I said Rachel before. Thank you for correcting me. Right, Rivka. Okay? Rivka is behind the switch. Now let's read this story. All right? I want to read this with you to really get into understanding what Rivka did. Because again, this is something we just read over, we just read through. And if you really take the time to read each pasuk, this story, this is a movie. This is like nuts what Rivka did. Okay, let's go through this. The Rivka shomat b'daber Yitzchak el Esav bino. Right? Avram just told, Yitzchak just told Ishmael to go out and bring him food, and then he's going to give him a special blessing. Right? So basically, Rivka is eavesdropping. Whether she's eavesdropping, whether she was there, who knows? But she overheard. Rivka shomat, right? She overheard what Yitzchak just told Yishmael. So Esav then goes out and does what Avram asked him to do. He goes out and goes hunting for the food that Yitzchak asked for. What does Rivka do? She just eavesdropped. She heard something. V'Rivka amra el Yaakov b'na lemor. Hinei shamati et avicha. Yaakov, listen up. I got this secret to tell you. Right? She's basically tattletaling upon her husband about what her husband's plans are. That does not include Yaakov, because she has a plan for Yaakov. Right? Hinei shamati et avicha midaber el Esav achicha lemor. Ooh, Yaakov, your father was just talking to Esav. And this is what he said. Havia li tzayid v'asili matamim v'ochela v'avarechacha lifnei Hashem lifnei moti. He just told your brother to go get him food, and then he's going to give him a special bracha. You basically have a mother tattletaling on her son to her other son. That's basically what's going on here. V'ata v'ni shema b'koli. Now, Yaakov, listen to me. I'm going to give you a commandment to do. Listen to me. You must listen to me, Yaakov. I'm going to tell you something. You have to do it. She eavesdropped on her husband. She's tattletaling on her number one son. And now she's commanding her second son, you have to listen to me and do exactly as I tell you. Lech na'alatzon, you go out now to our sheep. And I'm going to make a meal for your father. Basically what she's saying. I'm going to make a meal that you're going to give your father instead of your brother. I'm going to trick your father, my husband. And this is the plan. And you got to listen to me to make it happen. All right, here's stage 2 of the plan. And you're going to bring this food that I made to your father. Asher yivarechecha lifnei moto. So he's going to give you the bracha before he dies. Wow, can you feel the tension? He's about to die. We have to do this now. Yaakov, you got to do this. You got to listen to me. We need you to get this bracha. Esav can't get this bracha. You have a wife. You have a mother conniving behind the scenes to change the plan of the husband who she loves and respects, and hopefully also respects his opinion on things. So what's the bottom line of what's going on here? Rivka understood something that Yitzchak didn't. Rivka saw that when Yitzchak had to make a choice between who was the continuation of his lineage, he chose the wrong son. And Rivka didn't just sit there and go, oh my God, my husband just made a bad decision. Oh my God, what's going to happen? She didn't do that. She came up with a plan of action to change the rest of history. She could have just sat there and said, oh man, he made the wrong choice. Yaakov's the right son. Well, what can I do? I can't do anything. But she didn't do that. She ended up making a plan of action and putting it into play and then making sure Yaakov did it. But she was the puppeteer who played Yaakov, who played Yitzchak, who played Esav. She played her whole family. So what does this have to do with me supporting feminism? Because to me, I understand that what the Tanakh teaches us in this story, and what HaKadosh Baruch Hu teaches us in the story of Yishmael and Hagar with Sarah, is that there are some things that a woman has a little more understanding than the man. There's some spiritual connection of the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created men and women. There are many things we're similar, there are many things we're different. And one of the things we're different about is somehow this what the Torah calls bina, right? This internal understanding, this internal spiritual connection. I like to explain to people, and Bezrat Hashem, all of you should pray three times a day, okay? But when I understand prayer and the need for a man to pray 3 times a day as a mitzvah, we're commanded, we have to do that, but women are not commanded to pray 3 times a day. My understanding is very simple. I need it more. I need it more. A woman in her essence does not necessarily need to. She can do it, and if she's able to, she should do it, but she does not have to do it. A man has to do it. Why? Because I have to be forced to sit in front of a siddur 3 times a day and try to create this spiritual connection with a being out there that I don't always understand. But what I learned from the story in Toldot of Rivka and the story of Sarah telling Abraham also, you made the wrong choice, and I'm going to make sure you don't make the wrong choice. Get rid of Hagar and Ishmael. That's a bad influence upon Yitzchak. Is that there is an inherent spiritual part that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave women that men do not have. And therefore, as one thing, in terms of tefillah, and you guys could disagree with me, but this is definitely something I've learned and developed over the years in my studies. So we have to do many more things than women have to do. Not because we're better. We're not better. It's because we have to, because we're missing something that a woman inherently has, the spiritual connection. But there's another lesson that I want to go into over here. And that's the lesson of morals and values. Because you read this story, and if you come out, you use today's value system, you just read this. Rivka's horrible. How could she do such a thing? How could she go against her husband? How could she go against the plan for her son Yishmael? How could she? She's the trickster here. That's wrong. How can you trick? Rivka did something wrong. And it's so easy to look in that and say, okay, something wrong. Rivka was wrong. But it wasn't wrong. because she saw something that even her husband did not see. She saw that the true leader of the family, of the Jewish people moving on, is Yaakov and not Esau. And she had to do something about it. So yes, she had to trick, and it doesn't look good, and the optics aren't good, but she did it because she believed that was the right thing to do. And it's the same thing with everything today in terms of value systems. People, and again, it goes back to college campuses and goes back to what Ari teaches and Ari used to teach. When you look at the situation today, it's so easy to look at Israel. Oh, you have a minority living around amongst you. Oh, you have to treat them well. Oh, you guys are occupiers. Oh, why do you have checkpoints? That's so wrong, that's so bad. How can you do such a thing? But sometimes you have to take a step back and look at the big picture. And the big picture is, we're always here to live peacefully with our neighbors. The only reason we have checkpoints, the only reason there are closures sometimes, the only reason our soldiers go into Arab cities and villages is because they are trying to kill us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we have to protect ourselves. And more important than the wrong optics of having a checkpoint or having a closure or Chayalim having to do what they have to do and to kill a terrorist is in order to protect all of our lives. And if we want to protect all of our lives, we have to have an army and we have to defend ourselves. We live in a society where where it's understood that war is bad and everything is done to stop war. But the problem is sometimes there are people who all they want to do is bad and war and kill. And you can't stop war by just talking to them and just having peace talks. In order to stop war, in order to stop terrorism, sometimes you have to get rid of the terrorists. And it doesn't look good, and we don't want to do it, but if I want to protect my life and your life and all the life of your family when they come here to visit you on Sukkot or Pesach or in the summers, then when I'm called up to be a soldier once a year to defend my people and my country, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do what I have to do to make sure that Israel is not only a safe country for me and my family to live in, and for you and your family to live in, but also for all the Arabs and Muslims and Christians who live here and want to live peacefully for us. Because the second Israel is not a safe place, then it's not just not safe for me, it's also not safe for all the minorities who live amongst us. And these are messages that Ari used to give across. He was a proud Jew, he was a proud Israeli soldier, he was a proud Israeli, and he was always standing up for the truth about Am Yisrael, for the truth about Eretz Yisrael, and for the truth about Torah Yisrael. And again, I don't expect you to remember anything from this, but the one thing I do want you to take away with is what can you do? This is still the beginning of the year. Still the beginning of the year. What can you do? What can you focus on this year to really work on strengthening your pride in being a Jew, in your identity, in your connection with our homeland? Halavai, you should all make Aliyah tomorrow and stay here. But I'm not naive. Not many are going to do that. And you're going to go back to America, and you're going to go back to college for a few years before you make Aliyah. But what can you do now? Who can you talk to? Who can you learn with? Where can you go? What can you do to take advantage of this year where you are living part of the most miraculous story of the 21st century? You are part of a people who were exiled from their homeland over 2,000 years ago, and we're back. We're back. And we have our own army to defend ourselves. Your grandparents were not able to defend ourselves. Our great-grandparents were not able to defend ourselves. Whether they were in Syria, whether we were in Poland, whether anywhere. Whether you're now the second generation of Jews who Israel exists. It's not something to take for granted. And Ari made sure to teach over to everyone. Do not take Israel for granted. Do not take your Judaism for granted. Do not take your Jewish identity for granted. Be proud of it. Be proud Jews. And the only way to be a proud Jew is to internalize the lessons and internalize this land that you guys are blessed to be in here for this year. So please, take whatever you can from this year, take whatever you can that you can learn from who Ari was and how he lived and what he talked to inspire you to be better people, be better Jews, and better connected with Am Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, Torah Yisrael.
Thank you.
I'm done. Any questions?